You know, when the speaker asked me to endorse him, I know there's always the political element of a Republican standing up to endorse a Democrat for speaker. And it was without hesitation that I accepted. Because, you know, we put the politics aside, and I think, you know, Speaker Simowitz before him recognized that you are the Speaker of the House. You're not the Speaker of the Democrats. And I've always appreciated that from Speaker Simowitz and from you, Speaker Ritter. And having worked together on that bipartisan budget that we'll probably talk about and tell our grandkids about, we sat in a room feeling like hostages at any given time. We were forced to listen to each other. I think at times and sometimes we didn't want to. But what that did was it brought an understanding of where our perspectives are coming from. And it's not about we're right or you're wrong. It's about coming to a mutual understanding of where we are in our differences. And when the day is done, if I'm in the minority on an issue, that's okay, but the conversation needs to take place. And thank you for being one of those leaders that have always allowed that conversation to take place, because I think Connecticut is always better off. And to Majority Leader Rojas, you know, those words echo you as well. I think we've created a legacy here in that type of approach and behavior that we all should be proud of. I think, you know, the words that come to mind when we have interacted over the years, you know, your humility, your kindness, and your sense of humor have been so valued to many of us, and certainly to me. Because at times when you have to take those difficult positions or have that tough conversation, you are always there with a smile to make that a more meaningful discussion. You know, we need to break down those walls, and you're an individual that have always done that over the years. It's been a pleasure serving with you on the Finance Committee, a committee that could be so partisan at times when we're talking about, you know, taxes, revenue, bonding. Those are issues that certainly divide our two parties. But you have always done it in such a way that we have had great communication and conversation, and I hope that and I know we will continue that throughout the next 2 years. And like I said, it's very difficult to avoid a speech without discussing where we are in this pandemic. You know, today, at first it felt frustrating when I saw those protesters out there and they're shouting and we can't get our speeches off, and you feel as if it's disrespectful to the speaker in that process. But then I also take another perspective to it. That may be the only opportunity that the public will see us in a collective group where they could let their voices be heard. And while at times I find that it could be frustrating, it could be disrespectful, it brings me back to the point that none of this is about us. You know, the swearing in is a mere formality. And what this is always about is the people and hearing from the people. And so, Matt, while you deserve that day in the sun, and I know you've gotten it in a weird sort of way, I think we all should just look back on it as a teaching moment for us of listening to all of those voices as we move forward. You know, we've spent many months listening to people trying to get unemployment and logging into the system, and then we have to help correct them. At times, we have been their only connection to our state agencies to give them support. I've heard from the mothers and individuals, you know, the single mother who is now fighting stage 4 breast cancer because they forewent simple preventative health care screenings. We've had loved ones who've been impacted directly by the virus, but I continue to point to those other issues that we see out there because they are equally as impacted in a different kind of way, and we cannot forget those voices. And that is why today is such a great thing, because we are here collectively asserting ourselves again as a co-equal branch of government. This has not occurred really since March. You know, we had a couple of special sessions, but this is the day that we are asserting ourselves as a co-equal branch of government. And with that, I hope we start seeing a transition where we begin to take up these important issues that people are talking about. We need to bring stability back to our economy, and I think collectively we can do that. I also think that, it's important not to forget our school children. They have learned in isolation for many, many months. Some have not seen a classroom since March. It's difficult enough for our teenagers, but I think about a 6-year-old. My wife is in early childhood. That 6-year-old that is physically developing, that loses 8 months, they can't get that back. And we as a legislature need to figure out a pathway to get that back for them, to bring our children back into schools. And for my House Republican caucus, I'll be remiss to remind everybody, although we are in the minority, we still represent 1.3 million people in the state of Connecticut. And we may have differing opinions and differing views, but I think those voices are important to be heard. In our caucus, we have parents, we have caregivers, doctors, lawyers, restaurant owners, real estate agents, education professionals, and we have just plain regular Joes who are there to serve the state of Connecticut. And I am proud to lead this caucus and to help facilitate conversation, debate, and dialogue.